What's up? I'm John Middlekauff, the host of the 3 and Out podcast, and you can find it below in the description. Also, you're watching this on the Volumes YouTube channel. I need you to subscribe right now. Share it with your friends. Back again with my main man Stuckey, who is on fire this year, 7-2. And honestly, what was the game that he pushed last week? It was the Ravens against the Bills, which, I saw you tweeting. I know you're a Ravens fan. You were not happy.
Jerome Boger. Awful officiating. He's one of the worst officials in the league. But yeah, I agree with the call for the Ravens to go for it late. Hopefully some people got plus 3.5. But that was a tough one, mainly because I haven't had a Ravens future in forever. And they were 30-1, which I just thought was a joke. They're one of the best teams in the NFL because of last year. That game was so big for potential,
top
one
seed
in the AFC tiebreakers. So yeah, it could end up having massive playoff implications, but was a hell of a game.
Well, we might as well just start. I've had people tweeting at me that, you are very predictable when it comes to a team in Nashville that you fade the Titans. And then as you threw me the games for this week, of course, the Commanders plus 2.5. Is that game in Tennessee?
No, it's in.
Okay, it makes sense. That number would have been a little different. So it's in Washington, which just feels like a hellhole. No one even goes. No one gives a shit. They do look pretty terrible ever since that first win of the Jags. And you are hammering Wentz, Dan Snyder, Ron Rivera plus 2.5 against Mike Vrabel, he's got the train back on the tracks now, Stuckey.
Yeah, I love Vrabel. This number is outrageous. Washington was just plus 3 at Dallas. Just plus 3 at Dallas last week. And yes, they lost that game 25-10. Game was 15-10 in the fourth quarter. Washington had 2 interceptions that were overturned for illegal contact. Probably should have won that game. I went and rewatched it again yesterday. But Tennessee, look, last week they beat me. The first 2 weeks I got them. They got me the last 2 weeks. This is the rubber match. And if you take a look at what Tennessee's done, they've come out with a great scripted portion the past 2 weeks. They built a lead in the first quarter, and then that's it. They're done. They haven't scored in the second half since week 1 against the Giants.
They hold on.
Offense, they score, and then they hold on. But, now you lose Treylon Burks. Teams have what they're trying to do in the scripted portion. And by the way, Washington's run defense, number 1 in the NFL in success rate. They haven't let anyone run on them. So they're going to take away Henry here. Unfortunately for the Colts, Leonard gets hurt the first drive. Buckner's limited with an injury, only plays 15 snaps, which just kills their run defense. Henry was able to kind of get what I didn't think he was going to. But Washington's run defense has been awesome. And Washington stinks overall. I'm not going to tell you Carson Wentz is any good. But this Tennessee team, if you remove the first quarter, they are dead last on offense in EPA per play. On defense, regardless, they are 30th in EPA per play. Only the Seahawks and Lions have been worse defensively. This team has nothing. And look, what they don't have especially is edge rushers without Landry, and they just and that's big because Wentz under pressure is a disaster. Washington offensive line is dealing with a lot of injuries. So yeah, I just think that if you look at that game last week, Tennessee gets 3 turnovers. Buckner and Leonard are hurt. They get outgained by 180 yards by the corpse of Matt Ryan, and they just barely hang on because they got a lead early. I'm not buying it. This team I had as bad because of the offseason attrition. I still think they're bad. So yeah, this will probably be the only time on the show all year that I back Washington. And yeah, here we are. Go Commanders.
Okay, let's dive into your squad. This, it's weird. Last year you guys had a million injuries, and I vividly remember Cincinnati. It felt like they threw for 1,000 yards in that game at Baltimore. This is obviously a different team. Even though the Ravens, I'm with you, that value on them winning the Super Bowl, 30-1, it was pretty tasty. But their defense, I thought was going to be really good. I think we have to say it might not be as good as anticipated. But Cincinnati clearly, I mean, were they even that good last year? They just got hot at the right time. I mean, they are a good team. They have good offensive players. I mean, a great quarterback, but Ravens -3, big chip on their shoulder. Is you just like them in a bounce back situation in this spot?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of value in this number too. I mean, I think their secondary is going to be fine. Last year when they were playing the Bengals, I mean, they were playing in the second game where the Bengals put up 50. They had 0 starters available in the secondary. Josh Johnson was also starting at quarterback, but they were playing with 4th-string corners. The first game they played, they had a bunch of guys. The only guy that's still here is Marlon Humphrey, and they had Wink Martindale, who I love for the Giants and what he's doing there. His act was no longer. It was just tired in Baltimore because in the AFC you can't incessantly blitz these elite quarterbacks, and Joe Burrow was number 2 in the NFL against the blitz last year. That scheme just doesn't work. So you have a different scheme here. Peters and Humphrey are back. Marcus Williams, one of the best safeties in the NFL, and the rookie Kyle Hamilton's actually playing really well outside of the first game against Miami. So I think their secondary is going to be fine. And I just don't think. Look, if you look at Baltimore, they had a 90% win probability in every game this year. They lost to Miami in the only game that had a 99.2 or higher percent post-game win expectancy in the past 3 years. Should have won that game. They blow a big lead. They fumble at the 1 on a quarterback sneak. Whatever. Should have won that game. Buffalo, you punch that in. You don't blow the lead. You're 4-0. They're 4-0, easily 4-0 here. This line would be 4.5, 5, and the Bengals just aren't right now. We saw this last year. Now, look, they're still trying to figure out the offensive line. It's impacting Burrow. The play calling's awful. They come out and they just try to run into a wall. They're getting no push. You saw it in the Miami game.
Zach Taylor stinks. Zach Taylor stinks.
Yeah, he's awful. The fact that you had that was the spot of the year. You were playing, and you got to play a backup quarterback in Bridgewater. But you were playing a Miami team coming off 90 defensive snaps on Sunday against the Bills. They go on the road on a short week. They end up missing both starting corners, and you can't move the ball. You're not throwing it. So yeah, the play calling is just suboptimal. Ravens want it. I think you're getting value in this number because look, hey, they're both 2-2. The Bengals went to the Super Bowl last year, but yeah, they just got hot at the right time. Benefited from a lot of injuries in the division. They dominated, embarrassed the Ravens last year. And they were chirping about it on social media, chirping about it in interviews. Ravens have been talking. I'm a Ravens fan. I listened to a lot of their stuff. Ravens have been talking about this game since when I was listening to them in May, June. So you bet they're going to have some nice packages that they're going to unveil here for Lamar. They're going to be ready for this game. The crowd's going to be ready for this game. And, I think the Ravens are just in a much better spot right now as a team. They just blew a couple leads against explosive offenses. Should get Ronnie Stanley back here too. Ravens at -3 is cheap in my opinion.
Another game that's pretty interesting is New England. They're 1-3, but listen, your guy Billy Zappi came in and looks solid. Their 3 losses are against obviously 3 playoff teams: Miami and Baltimore. And then last week, on the road at Lambeau, where they were winning. They were kind of in control of that game. They really have a good run attack. And, Bill, they don't have stars on defense, but they clearly are a well-coached, solid defensive team. Detroit has got to be one of the more bizarre teams in the league, right? Their offense, it's weird. Like, do you view them as having an explosive offense? They're always down like 15, 20 points, and then they come back. Is that kind of hollow? It's hard to kind of put into context. To me, that's different than when you're tied 20-20 and putting up yards than when you're down 20 and kind of letting it loose. But they have averaged 35 points a game giving up on defense, yet their point differential is -1. that is insane. So I'm sticking by like Detroit was going to be feisty, but their defense is atrocious. It's like Oklahoma level shitty. So I have a hard time. I think I would lean the Patriots. Bill's so cloak and dagger about his quarterback. I think it's safe to say we'll probably get Zappi. So that would make me a little nervous. A third-string quarterback who's now their starting quarterback just playing in NFL games. But it is, it's in New England. Where are you leaning with this one?
Yeah, I like New England here, -3 or better. I also like the under. This total is ticked up to like 46 when news of Mac Jones potentially playing. Regardless of who plays, if it's Bailey Zappi, who Belichick's going to treat with kids' gloves for now, or a hobbled Mac Jones, who Belichick's going to treat with kids' gloves if he can't really move around. He also hasn't been lighting up. They don't have the best receiver.
No.
It's gonna be the same game plan. It's gonna be the game plan you saw last week against Green Bay. Play methodical and they're gonna run down Detroit's throat. The team that's ranked 31st in run D success rate is the Packers. The only team worse is the Lions. You can run on this team all day. And look, yes, I think the Lions' offense is pretty good because their offensive line is great.
Do you agree with me that the yards can be a little hollow when you're down in all these games?
Of course. They also, they play in, a weaker division, and they play indoors. But Amon-Ra St. Brown is a player. Swift is a player. They're both going to be out this week.
Hawkinson's a stud.
Yeah, they have a bunch of other receivers too that could be out. Doesn't look like Amon-Ra St. Brown's playing. Doesn't look like Swift is playing. They have a couple offensive linemen who are iffy. So, I know they've been scoring 1 billion points and giving up 1 billion points, but I think this is a classic. Patriots are just going to run, defense, special teams, build a lead, and then and just bleed the game away and strangle the life out of Goff and company. And for what it's worth, for his career, Goff does not have the strongest arm. He turns into a pumpkin outdoors in any type of condition. So this isn't where the Lions have been the first 4 weeks. Indoors against bad defenses, and their offense just isn't healthy. So I think you're getting some value on this total because of what Detroit has done, but I think they'll be shut down here, and then it's just a really conservative game plan of the Patriots just moving the clock and moving the ball on the ground throughout.
Yeah, it'll probably feel very 2021 like. This next game's probably the best game of the weekend, at least for me. I think the Rams and the Niners have some parallels, as they can look really shitty on a given week, and then everyone gets off the scent, and then McVay and Kyle bounce back. And this is the classic week. I mean, we all watch the Rams, especially when you play on a primetime game, so everyone watches you, and they look really bad. Stafford's throwing pick sixes. They only score 9 points. They get shoved around. The Niners always shove them around. That happens. I mean, they go 12-5, and they lose those 2 games, so who cares? And, Dallas, their defense has been awesome. To me, it just feels like the Rams are the play just because everyone's going to be against them. The only thing that makes me nervous is, as you saw with the Niners, the reason the Niners kick the Rams' ass is because the Rams' offensive line for years now has been pretty average. And right now it's below because Whitworth's nowhere to be found. So if you have up front horses, you can kind of fuck them up. And I know this about the Cowboys. They can get after your ass up front, especially with, I know they're calling him the modern-day LT, probably a little bullish, but he is damn good. And Bosa was all over Matt Stafford. And I don't see how they block Micah Parsons, Stuckey. So my gut, just because short everyone that's going to take the Cowboys, is the Rams, but the matchup there makes me nervous.
Yeah, I love the Rams here. And look, I think you nailed it when you said, hey, look, the Rams got embarrassed by Kyle Shanahan. That happens every time they play each other. So, it's the circle of life in the NFC West. The Rams own the Cardinals, who own the 49ers, who own the Rams. Yeah. It's just these things that happen in the NFC West because of matchups. And, I mean, Kyle Shanahan completely owns Sean McVay. By the way, McVay 5-0 against the spread on a short week in his past 5, and he is 15-8 against the spread after a straight-up loss in the regular season. His teams, as you mentioned, do bounce back well. I just think this line is crazy. Your points are warranted about their offensive line. The hope is you get Brian Allen back, but their offensive line is not going to be good all year. The offense has taken a big step back. Cam Akers isn't himself. Allen Robinson is a downgrade from what they had last year. Yeah, it's just Kupp. It's just like throwing to Cooper Kupp 1 million times, which can work. And I think that might be enough here. And this is really a fate of the Cowboys for me. It's the love for Cooper Rush has to stop. He's managed the game well, but this is a team that they're barely scoring 20 points. And they beat the Commanders, the Bengals when they were just in disarray early in the season, and then they had to come back to beat the Giants. Okay. And if you really dig down deep, and I went back, I just told you I watched that Washington game. Washington had 2 picks. St. Juice had 2 picks of Cooper Rush, who has no interceptions on the year, that were overturned for illegal contact. Washington had 140 penalty yards in that game. Go back to the Bengals game. Bengals dropped 3 interceptions. One was there was a penalty. Yeah. 2 they just dropped. He should have 5 picks. And he is getting very lucky. He managed the game well against the Giants, and everyone saw that, but he should have about 5 picks. They've been great in the scripted portion, similar to Tennessee, but with they come out with a good game plan, but the rest of the game, their offense has been absolutely dreadful. Cooper Rush reminds me of Kyle Allen, 2019. Cam Newton gets hurt after the second game for the Panthers. Kyle Allen comes in game 3, 4-0 straight up, 4-0 against the spread, 7 touchdowns, no interceptions. Everyone is on the Kyle Allen bandwagon, but really everyone was just dropping interceptions against him, and he was throwing all these awful balls. The rest of the year, he goes 1-9, straight up 1-9 against the spread, 10 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. The people that are saying that he should be the quarterback over Dak Prescott, a dude who's thrown for over 5,000 yards, over 40 touchdowns in a season, are insane. So yeah, I think that this line is crazy because of what Cooper Rush has done, what we saw from the Rams. But this is a defending Super Bowl champs at home against Cooper Rush only laying 4.5. That's like what the line could be if Dak Prescott was playing. Crazy.
Sold me.
Yeah, I like the Rams.
I'll get you out of here on this. You didn't know this one was coming, but I'm kind of fascinated by this game because on the flip side of the Niners, right, they had this big win, short week. Now they got to go on the road. Their defense is awesome. Baker Mayfield looks terrible, but the Panthers' defense is actually pretty good, and the Niners, they struggle to score 25 points. So they're laying 6.5 on the road. Now, while they're going to the East Coast, it's not your typical 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time kickoff. It's the later window, so that to me helps them out a little bit. But do you think that line's a little big? I'm short in Baker Mayfield, but that's 6.5 points. With the Panthers' defense is just pretty good.
Yeah, no, I think it's too high. If I can get 7, I'm going to take the Panthers because Mayfield has been horrendous.
Horrendous, bad.
Beyond bad. The key for the Niners is you get to 17 against Matt Rule and you win. Matt Rule's 1-26 when teams get to 17 points against the Panthers, and that also speaks to his quarterback play that he's had. When they hold teams to under 17, he's 10-0 straight up and 10-0 against the spread. So that should be the goal for your 49ers fan. But yeah, 49ers defense is excellent. By the way, the Rams have looked really bad at times. Their offensive line is bad, but a lot of when it did look bad is they played the Bills and the 49ers, two of the best defenses in the NFL, if not the two best. But yeah, I think it is too high. And if you look historically, just against the spread trends, if you're going on a short week after across the country, it's like a 40% against the spread. It's after an emotional divisional game too, where they got revenge, and the total is 38. You catch 7 in the NFL at home with a total of 38. Was it the Niners a couple years ago that went to, I think I had Washington plus 10 in the rain. Yeah, it was 9-0. And they covered without scoring.
So it was 9-0.
Yeah, that could happen here. The Niners win 6-0.
Yeah, I'm with you. Baker Mayfield, I listen, I wasn't the biggest Colin Cowherd hater of him, but I thought he would be better, not even just with the Panthers. His career is trending toward he's going to be calling college football games in a couple years the way this is going. So,
yep.
Stuckey, enjoy your weekend. Let's see if our boy Will Levis can get back on the win column. Kentucky tough loss at Ole Miss, but that was a fun game. That was enjoyable, was it not?
Yeah, we'll see if he plays. Rumor
finger?
Is rumor is maybe a boot. And yeah, the line has come down from 10.5 to 6.
Who are they playing?
Which South Carolina at home. So the line's dropped 6 points, which means someone probably knows something. So we'll see if he ends up suiting up. I'm still trying to get confirmation of whether or not he's going, but the line blowing through 10 and 7 is
the boot something that happened in the game or happened in practice?
Someone saw him with a boot, and he had the coaches mentioned he had another injury that's going to make him questionable, and then there was a rumor out there that he had a boot. I haven't seen a picture or anything, but the line has crashed, so I don't know if someone knows something for sure. But that's certainly something to watch. But yeah, that was a fun game last week. Unfortunately, Kentucky had a couple fumbles at the end that cost them.
Well, that backup right tackle didn't touch a soul on the one play. So
yeah,
that looked like the Rams. Well, Stuckey, have a good weekend. Talk to you soon. Take it easy, bro. Thanks for watching 3 and Out. You can check out the podcast below in the description. And make sure you subscribe right now to the Volumes YouTube channel.